Hello and welcome to I guess this is still Spooktropia, I think. Well, no, you know what? This is just Utropeia story time. Ching, sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. This is, of course, the segment, a new segment, where we tell stories.
Mystical news segment.
Ooh, from beyond the maze. Ooh, and the moon and the swamp and the you.
And the earth holes
and the earth and the pumpkin patch. I am your host, Pumpkin. There will be no joke because these are stories, and we have a serious story. Serious stories here.
We're serious people.
We're serious
True.
people. Joining me,
Neon lights.
neon lights in the stars in the sky. Ooh, neon lights for everyone. And my guests and co-hosts, of course, are Bill, MrYu Video.
How's it going?
Hello. Chris Moonjump.
Hey, from the moon.
From the moon. And Todd Ogredose.
Yo.
So we are doing Storytime, and I believe Mr. Moonjump and Mr. Ogredose also have stories available for us, and these are based off of the four, I believe, previous tropes that we have done for Spooktropia, our October segment. These might get peppered in throughout, but we'll see how it goes. And I believe, do we want to get into the tropes that the prompts were based off of, or
Yeah, let's at least name them.
okay?
Yeah.
I believe we had Possession for the superpower.
Yes.
For the setting, it was a haunted house, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
The archetype was the villain.
The villain.
Archetype, yes, and the plot device was the isolated protagonist, and I think that's all of them, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So, yep. So Moonjump and Ogredose both have stories for us. I believe Mr. Moonjump had his story first, and I will give the floor over to you. And
I will concede to the Moonjump.
to the moon.
That's good. I will take my royal privilege on this. Speaking of which, this is a story for my fellow Moonanites. As we all know, the moon is a harsh and forbidding place, but, we do occasionally have tales of our great folk heroes. And this one actually follows one of our great heroes, Parker Peterson, and his journey from the city of Kepler to the city of Tycho. Now, Tycho is the main spaceport
Of course.
on the moon. And
Naturally.
the reason... Exactly. And so occasionally the Moonanites must take their caravans across the oceans of the moon to be able to, sell their goods at the spaceport, to be able to grab the things that we don't have on the moon, like water or oxygen or plant life or everything. Yeah. You can't buy gravity there, but you can horse them up. But as I said, the moon is an interesting place because ever since the cataclysm, we have had, moon fog, where werewolves come in under the cover of it, and being as you're on the moon, they're just always there.
Yeah, they'll never go away.
No, they're just... But then the other thing that we had in our history was the Great Chicken Extinction. They had been removed.
Chickens on the moon.
Yeah, there were chickens on the moon during the terraform sections of the planets that we keep in the cities, but they'd been carried off under cannon fire by lunatics.
Nick Cannon fire.
Yes, it was terrible. But in the story, we wind up dealing with our young Parker Peterson, who, travels with his caravan to sell moon milk, be able to make astronaut ice cream. So, Parker Peterson had been a milkman his entire life, but he had always desired the one thing he believed would change the face on the man in the moon. Goes on his adventure with him and his Uncle Ben, and the rest of his caravan on their lunar sailor. But as they're traveling across the ocean of storms, which is a geological feature on the moon,
Yes.
they wind up running into a terrible gang of Braffians that attack their lunar sailor and destroy one of the engines. And it sends them spinning off course And unfortunately, all of the children in the crew compartment died. But all of the adults were okay.
Oh.
It's true. The Braffians really are the worst kind of scum. I mean, there's rarely a person over the age of 2 months. It's just one of the things you have to deal with on the moon.
Tragic.
All right. But with their lunar sailor crashed, Parker and Ben decided that they were going to do some reconnaissance to try and get their position after being taken so far off course. So they proceeded to go into their lunar sailor and pull from the compartments their segways.
Go on.
So they begin to travel across the plains until they fall off a cliff. Only to land in what I can possibly say, the only close analogy I have for it is it looks like the cover of an Iron Maiden album. So you've got your towering mansion with its spires and its blood and its lava and skulls, and really it's just a horrifying place. But this is where they are, and that's where they need to be. Put them there in the story. But so as they begin to pass through, they realize that the mansion doesn't seem to have any life in it at all. But it seems to have at least at one point contained the traces of life. Because as you look around, they had vast stores of water, what we call up here on the moon, clear gold. And, this obviously being as they are trying to sell as much as they can up on the moon, they figure at market, water will be one of the best damn things for them. So they proceed to make plans to try and carry it off, but they decided to kind of push further into the mansion. So as they pass through, their vast water pools and look down the hallways and check through the rooms, and everything seems all right, but it does kind of give them the creeps. They begin to walk through the antechamber and see an immense room upon which there are 6 small thrones surrounding a large black throne. And on this dark throne sits a peculiar figure that they had never seen. And that was a pale white skeleton with an iridescent crown sat upon this throne, looking as though it died waiting for someone who never came. And then they realized that this had also been one of the legends that they had heard. This was once the King of the Moon.
No.
Yes. And he had been lost to time, but they'd rediscovered him here. And they're like, well, I'd only heard of the legends of Emperor Randy. But
Emperor Randy?
Yes. And Randy was a kind king and a good king, except that he wasn't. But Randy will always be known as being the one who forever changed the face of the moon. On seeing this, they realized that no, this must be the lost castle of Emperor Randy. And that's when they begin to hear faintly through parched teeth, "Oh, you guys must be regular Sherlock Bones." Parker proceeds to go, "Ah! Talking skeleton!" Randy just goes, "Hey, someone should give this kid a hand." And his hand proceeds to promptly fall off. Because he thinks...
King Randy.
Exactly. He is... there is one thing. He may not have been the best king. He is the funniest.
He does have a good fight.
He's always found it humorous.
Oh, where's the bell? No, where's the bell go?
And Parker goes, "No, you must be afflicted by the moon madness." Uncle Ben goes, "No, it's the lunacy." Randy goes, "I'm glad to see there's something rattling around inside those skulls of yours." I just goes, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I got you into this, Parker. I never should have taken you with me on this Segway. Looks like we'll both become like Sith Skeleton." Randy goes, "Well, you both would be normally, but I'd be a terrible host if I were to leave you with the ghosts." Parker goes, "But we're stuck here. We have no transportations. Our Segways fell off the cliff and did not kill us like the founder of the Segway." And Randy proceeds to look at him and goes, "Look at my hand, boy." Parker goes, "What's this?" It's like, "Not my actual hand that I've got on me. Look in the hand of the ground." Parker goes, "Okay," and in it are a pair of wings with a globe that has the acronym NASA on it. And attached are a set of keys. Randy proceeds to go, "Now I want you to take these broken wings and learn to fly again. Learn to live so free." Parker goes, "Oh, all right, thanks, Mister. And he goes, "I'm just trying to make up for what I did. I've doomed this world, son. When I was left on my throne, my evil thoughts through the black throne of this to the core of this world. And now Celine's light has faded, and a goddess come forth to the dark side of the moon. And I died for Darkseid, but not Marcus, because I don't really care for chicken. And he doesn't even have any military experience." Parker says, "Well, shut up about that. We do need to get back to our fellow Moonanites." Randy goes, "Oh, well, the lunar rover's in the back in the garage, and it's got GPS coordinates to Tycho, because convenience." And so when Ben goes,
Good reason.
Ben just goes, "Parker, that means we can take back a mass of water back with us. We'll be rich. We'll be just water tycoons." And Parker goes, "No, Uncle Ben. We can get on our way back now. I want chocolate milk."
No! That's your first mistake!
Oh no, what's happening?
And Ben just goes, "Fine. I'll just grab a gallon while you get the rover ready." Randy proceeds to go, "And Parker, if you ever see that Princess Moonjump, tell him that I miss him. And that he did this to me, you damned bard." Parker just goes, "Well, why don't you just come with us?" And he just goes, "Oh, kid, that's just impossible. I'm bad to the bone." So, Parker and Ben proceed to take the lunar rover that they had received from Randy and their haul of water, and they proceed to go out on the surface of the moon. But being as they just, come out of the influence of the Terran eclipse, the sun was far too bright, so they'd put their visors down.
Of course.
So, as they rode back, Parker began to realize that Ben was acting strange, probably excited about the fact that he was going to be, selling all of this water and becoming water tycoons.
Mm-hmm.
But they had to spend most of this in silence because they'd wasted a fair amount of their oxygen trying to, talk to Randy. Which is weird because Randy didn't need it to talk to them. But he just kind of figured that, the random whooping noises would be alright. Ben was just going to be calming down. They finally reach the gates of the terraformed dome of Tycho. And when they get inside, they go into their quarantine room and begin to take off their spacesuits for the clean room. But he noticed that Uncle Ben was keeping his on, staring at the door into Tycho proper. Parker goes, "Uncle Ben, are you alright?" And as the visor draws up, a purple light begins to pour forth from underneath its gold reflection. And inside, all he hears is, "Ben's dead! Woo, 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 woo." And that's the end.
Bravo!
Bravo, Mr. Moonjump. You did it again.
What really sold me on the story was that Randy had a defined voice the entire time.
Randy's voice is what makes the story.
I figured I needed to include Randy. He's one of my favorite.
I also like that the Braffs are just...
Yeah, they're just roving gangs on...
Moon assholes.
They're just roving gangs on the moon that kill children.
It's just like The Warriors, the movie, but they all have like Zach Braff masks.
Braffs, come out to play!
To save my life. That was a great story, Chris. Thank you very much.
I'm glad y'all enjoyed it. It was fun
good.
writing.
Oh my gosh. Hilarious. Todd, are you ready for your story? Because I'm ready.
Let me get my papers all sorted here. I do this old school.
Oh man, you don't mess around. All right.
All right. We'll start my story, but before we start my story, I have to warn our viewers.
Okay.
Have not. Go back and listen to episode 28. Let's split up, gang. Because, gentlemen, we're about to get canon.
So ready.
My story, of course, called The Tale of the Unitar's Wrath. But I gotta take care of something real quick. So, Todd said chipperly, I'll be right back. Everyone waved and said goodbye to him as he wandered away from the rest of the Utropians briefly, walking into the darkness of the space jungle that they would always gather to talk about tropes in a vaguely Midnight Society-like way. Ken often started the podcast by throwing a magic powder onto the fire. Todd never quite knew who started the fire or what the magic powder was, but he knew better than to question the cryptic ways of the pumpkin golem. But that was besides the point. Todd was very thirsty, hoping he could stop back at his turtle-backed home for a drink. He knew that there may be some chocolate milk in his refrigerator. And he was thirsty enough to take the chance of an uncle dying horribly.
This story's so canon. It's so canon already.
It was about this time that he noticed a faint glow from a really spooky-looking house in the distance. Looks legit, he told himself, as he wandered to the house in hopes that they might have something to quench his unstoppable thirst. As he wandered up to the front door, the air got colder, and an incredibly cliché fog seemed to roll in, making it seem like he was in a picture you'd see on a children's Halloween party napkin or something.
Oh. That's way better than the metal album.
The wind seemed to moan, a cold and chilling, looks pretty played out, that rocked him to his very core. An uneasy Todd slowly knocked on the door. It creaked obnoxiously loud and seemed to open itself like an overly long gag that just wouldn't stop. Todd had been long used to gags like this, as he fondly recalled all the dead horses he had back home and how him and the other Utropians would beat them for hours.
That's canon.
That's very canon.
Anyone home? Todd yelled out into the dark and cobwebbed house, really hoping that someone would answer him that wasn't just Owen Wilson in a pretty bad movie. As he wandered the halls of the house, he passed by numerous paintings of people long deceased. The paintings' eyes followed him as he passed, a chill shooting down his spine. Hello? He called out, seeing if once again someone was around that may be able to help him. I've been separated from the rest of my group and could really use a hand. It was deadly quiet for a moment. Todd breathed a sigh of relief, because it would have totally been a good opportunity for something really, really creepy to happen.
It would have.
As if right on time to mess with him, a booming voice then rang out. Winston! Todd began to scream in terror, a scream that was soon cut off as he began to explain. No, wait, I think you're mistaken. You see, this seems like a good lampshade hang on the train scene from Ghostbusters 2. I may get a little flack about this, but I don't think that flick was too bad. Sure, it's not as good as the first one, but it was kind of retelling the same story again in a different way, but I think it made for a pretty okay film. Really, you think? The voice boomed out again. Yeah, Todd replied. Plus it had a scene where they walked the Statue of Liberty using an NES Advantage controller, so that was pretty fun. There was a small silence after that, as if the booming voice was nodding a little and respecting Todd's opinion, even if the voices differed from his. They would just have to agree to disagree.
Oh, nice. Not like most of the internet conversations I have.
It was about that time that a trapdoor opened below Todd, causing the avid movie fan to fall into an even darker dark.
Ooh, advanced darkness.
That was until the room slowly began to illuminate, with candles lighting up with a dim purple light, because let's admit it, that's spooky as hell.
You're right.
In the middle of the room stood a huge beast, terrifying in every way. It was a humanoid monster with a burly chest and giant fists. But the thing that made Todd tremble the most was the top of its shoulders was the head of a white stallion with flowing rainbow hair and a single horn emerging from its forehead. "You're," Todd whispered as true abject fear gripped him. "The Unitar!" the beast bellowed, while laughing a laugh so sinister it cemented with only the highest of villains. "What do you want from me, Unitar?" Todd yelled defiantly at the horrible yet surprisingly majestic creature. The creature looked Todd straight in the eye and replied back with a menacing whinny. "Only your death, Todd.
Ooh.
Only your death!" The monster then pounded the mighty clubs it called fists against the wall, causing the structure of the room to begin to collapse. Many pieces of it to break apart and land on Todd, pinning him to the ground. The Unitar then stopped, astounded that it was only one little thing it did that it defeated Todd. He had expected so much more work out of the podcaster, and could only, in a slightly confused but straightforward way, proclaim,
"That was easy."
Such a good setup.
This, of course, was the perfect time for the monster to stand over a helpless Todd and gloat, the calling card of the most pompous of villain. But it was in this moment of cruelty that the beast made the most fatal of mistakes. In his attempts to break Todd, not only physically but emotionally, the poor stupid creature mentioned something Todd knew all too well. The selling. Todd could only feel his blood boil in his rocky prison. His eyes glue red, and two giant tusks emerged from his jaw. He had unwillingly given into the Ogredose, a strong power, but a strong curse that had plagued his family line for years. In blinding strength and unstoppable rage, Ogredose was free with a blood-curdling scream of, "That was a really dumb movie!" The Unitard was defeated, his head knocked clear from his shoulders. Todd could only weakly sob as he fell to his knees next to the beast's body, and his rage left him. He returned to normal. He then noticed it was not the creature's head that had been removed, but a mask. A beautiful, stunning unicorn mask. At long last, Todd saw who the creature really was, as the monster's clenched hand opened, revealing a dry and chalky bar of astronaut ice cream. "No! Astronaut ice cream Minotaur!" Todd screamed in horror. "What have I done?" "You did what you had to, Todd," the Utropeia Justice League member said quietly and pained. "You saved me. You see, when I put on that mask, I was possessed by demons, the devil demons, Lucifer, and the devil. Removing it freed me. But it's a really big bummer that my heel face turn means I have to die now." Todd tried to comfort his friend in his last few moments. "Shall I tell the others what happened?" "No," replied the Minotaur. "Don't taint the sweet memories of me. Not just yet." Wait, Todd. This is a pretty big spoiler. Tell them in 2 years. By the way, the Minotaur said in its final breaths, that was a really cool rage power you got. You should really talk about that on a future episode of the Utropeia podcast. Can do, old friend, Todd said, tears streaming from his eyes. Can do. The light in the room grew dim as life left the astronaut ice cream loving hero, and Todd was left in the dark. An eerie green glow soon filled the room as a bony yet familiar figure appeared behind Todd.
Yes.
Hey! Cried out Skeleport, the best superhero ever. I'm here to help save Astronaut Ice Cream Minotaur from the evil possessed mask. He then looked at the scene with his hollow and empty bone sockets. Oh, looks like you got this already. Boy, this sure is awkward. Yeah, Todd replied. He's kinda super dead now. Todd could only quietly scuffle after the very uncomfortable social situation. I can at least get you out of here. And with that, the bony hero teleported Todd away from the really overdone haunted house. It was really a shame that Todd was teleported, however, into the middle of a barren desert. It felt like years of dragging himself through the wasteland, but really was, I don't know, like 10 minutes or something.
Probably.
As Todd forced himself to move forward, he heard light discussion and laughing of voices that seemed so long lost now. As if by chance, Dimsdale happened to ask, "Hey, has anyone seen Ogredose?" With that, Todd collapsed into the group once more, tears in his eyes, not only from the loss of one true friend, but the reuniting of his others. The end.
Yay!
He was a true hero. He was a true hero. I can't wait to hear about him in 2 years. Now that was a really good story.
I hope it was worth the wait.
Oh my god, it was really good. Skeleport made an appearance. It was so good. You got everything in there. You got the Unitar, you got the astronaut ice cream in there.
You got chocolate
gosh.
milk?
You did. You got chocolate
I
milk.
tried to cover all the bases. And totally canon, guys. Totally
It
canon.
is. I think we'll seal of approval this particular. We will seal of approval this entire episode. That was really amazing. Thank you so much. That was really good, Todd. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No problem, man. But no, this was good. Did you guys like writing up stories for this week's
Yeah, it
this,
was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to incorporate all the different story elements into one, and not to like overplay one over another. So it's kind of interesting to do that, and with our fantastic lore we've developed, it made it even better.
over 28 episodes.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I was just saying, yeah, for writing all of it, it actually was, well, like I was kind of saying earlier, is working under the constraint of having to kind of include all four and kind of balance them. Yeah, it really does. It gives you a challenge, but it also, like Todd said, having kind of the lore that we have, it does actually make that remarkably easy.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to doing more of these and expanding on everything with kind of new tropes and whatnot to work with.
With our different story times. I don't know. I really like this segment. I think it's really it's very fun to kind of put into practice what we kind of preach. And even if even if we're not using it for things that we might want to get more serious about later, I think it's kind of cool that we can kind of actually like touch back on some of these old tropes and bring back bring back a little bit of spice into what we talk about. But yeah, I really enjoyed sitting in and listening in on both of your guys' story this week, and I'm very thankful that Bill was here to listen in with us too this week as well. Yeah, the next time we have a new story time up, I know Nate wishes he could be here. He was really enthused about it. If you guys like this, I will shamelessly plug the Fantasy Fiction Podcast. I think our stories are actually a little bit different in flavor, and I really dig that everyone's like kind of went in a different direction. I was almost a little worried that everyone would kind of like do similar stuff, but all of these stories had like really different like kind of feels and flavor, and I think it's really cool that you get to kind of hear that and bring that out in everyone's different way of telling it. So no, I really enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to hearing the next segment. But yeah, I don't know. Did you guys want to give 2 cents on anything else?
No, I think I did enough damage this episode.
No, I got everything I wanted. I can't wait to do it with another set of them.
Sounds good. I can't wait either. So for November is the month that we are currently in right now. And I believe Prison Breaks is going to be our next regular segment. And after that episode, we might have something a little different, and a little different seasoning that might be coming in on the Utropeia roster. But yeah, thank you guys very much for listening. And hey, thanks for the story. Alrighty. Have a good night.
Bye.